We're praying through the Bible, number 66, Joshua chapter 9, verse 14, a prayer that didn't get prayed. Benjamin Franklin Riley said, "In this world, nothing can be certain except death and taxes." In this world, I might add, nothing can be more certain than a life without prayer is a life without God preventing us from making stupid mistakes. Can God answer prayers that are never said? The all-knowing one can. Will God answer prayers that are never said? The all-merciful one might. Joshua 9 warns that God does not always save us from ourselves when we think we know better or we think we know enough not to pray. When the Gibeonites heard what God's people had done to Jericho and Ai, they wisely, in the ways of the world, acted. They did this by acting deceptively, gathering worn out sacks, old wineskins, patched sandals, threadbare clothing, and dry bread. They proceeded to Israel's camp. Planting their false evidence, they misleadingly claim, "We have come from a distant land. Please make a treaty with us," chapter 9, verse 6. Such a treaty, though, was forbidden with Canaanites, chapter 9, verse 24. Afterwards, the Israelites discovered the Gibeonites were not from a far land. They were only 3 days away, chapter 9, verse 17. In the beginning of this scenario, God's people act wisely, even suspiciously. "Perhaps you live among us. How can we make a treaty with you?" Chapter 9, verse 7. "Who are you and where do you come from?" Chapter 9, verse 8. They're asking the right questions, examining the evidence, and getting satisfactory answers. A treaty is formed. But no one prayed. They did not seek the Lord's decision. Chapter 9, verse 14. I like how that translation phrases that. It shows us praying is seeking God's decision, not ours. But here, God is not included. Everyone is talking about God, both pagans and the believers. Chapter 9, verses 9 through 10. But no one is talking to God, and God is not talking to them. Perhaps because God is absent, bad decisions abound? No, perhaps about it. Apparently, talking about God is not as beneficial as talking to God. Preachers need that lesson. First, Joshua and the leaders do not pray to God about the Gibeonites' claim of being from a faraway land, chapter 9, verse 9. So, from all appearances, no one is acting arrogantly, just naively. It's as if their brains are saying, "Don't need God on this one, we've got it." Everything looks kosher. Everything is not as it seems. Second, when Joshua and the leaders discover the deception, again, no one prays. Instead, they conclude, "We have sworn an oath by them or to them by the Lord, the God of Israel, and now we cannot touch them." Chapter 9, verse 19. Again, pride is not the driving force here, but rather sincerity. In trying to do the right thing, they abide by their oath. Was honoring a false treaty the right decision? We can't argue about that, but only form opinions because none of them ask God, and God doesn't say. I will say this, God protects them, both the Israelites and the Gibeonites, as seen in the battle where the sun stays still, chapter 10. That was God. I cannot imagine or fathom how many mistakes I haven't made because I prayed. Neither do I know how many times I haven't prayed but should have. One thing is certain. If Joshua would have prayed, he would not have made this blunder. Neither would have Israel. So hear this and be wise. Even with seemingly all the available facts and personal integrity intact, we still are not wise enough to make the right decision without prayer. Here's our prayer challenge. Think of times we prayed and didn't pray. Consider the results. Ask ourselves why we did or didn't pray. and make a decision to pray even about the little things. Start praying. This has been Praying Through the Bible number 66, a prayer that didn't get prayed, Joshua chapter 9. If this has been a blessing to you, please share. Please ask people to subscribe so that others can be blessed. And thank you for praying for me.